Well, hey, everybody. This is Connor here with Bourne Financial Coaching and the Bourne Financial Coaching Show. Um, really happy to have you come join me today, whether or not you're listening on podcast or watching over YouTube. Just really happy, thankful that you're here as we have a big, important topic to discuss today. That's how starting early can help you stress less as it relates to saving for college. I sort of did a part one of this episode in my last one, which was how early is too early to start saving for college. But if you didn't listen to it, that's okay. You won't be too far behind as we talk about, starting early and stressing less. So, as what I've been doing so far this year is I've been sharing my screen. So we're going to go ahead and share just in case there's some notes or anything like that that I want to write down. Okay, we've got here a really important first thing to discuss. If you've listened to me or followed any of my thoughts, you know I love the power of compounding. This is such a big, important thing as it relates to starting early and stressing less. Um, when you start saving money, right, especially in anything that's going to generate interest, and I guess this wouldn't happen if your account didn't generate interest, but as you start saving money, your money is not just sitting there. It's working for you and it's growing. Here's kind of the big idea, just sort of broken out. So you earn interest on the money you put in. In this case, it could be a college savings account. Then that interest earns its own interest. Earns its own interest. Not ears, earns its own interest. And then over time, that growth starts to snowball. As I talk about the debt snowball and debt elimination strategies, the same is really true as it relates to saving money in terms of compounding being so, so, so important. And just to kind of give you maybe an example to consider as it relates to the power of compounding, let's say you had a child born this month, and you start saving $100 a month each month when your child is born, just on the day that he's born or she's born. That rate is an average. Let's say you average a 6% return. You could have, by the time they turn 18, just by that $100 a month, just that alone, you could have $38,000. But if you waited until they were 10, until you started that, you would need to save roughly $400 for kind of around the same amount. So when you want to play catch up, that is where you start to see, big numbers as it relates to saving. So the earlier you can start saving, the smaller amount you need to put away over time to reach your goal. Starting early doesn't mean saving less stressfully. It means putting time on your side. Now we're going to talk about something that's really, really important, and that's balancing college savings with other financial goals. Let's face it, college is so important and education is so important. And as a parent, I want to make sure to give my kid the best future, he can get. And sometimes other things come in the way too, and you need to make decisions, right? So there is a balance that we have to acknowledge as it relates to saving for college while balancing other goals. And, along with saving for college, you might need to be paying off debt. You might need to be in a place where you're building your emergency fund. You're going to be also probably saving for retirement. And you know what? There's probably going to be some rising living costs that you're going to have to contend with. So, the nice part about starting when you have margin, right, is because when those crises come, right, let's take a look at rebuilding your emergency fund, right? Maybe you're at a place where you already have an emergency fund and then something happens and totally just zaps it away. Um, you know, because you have started earlier as it relates to that college savings, right? You're going to feel a little bit better about maybe hitting pause on college savings and saying, hey, we have zero emergency fund right now. We're going to have to deal with that. So it is important to acknowledge the balance and, to kind of go back into this less stress mindset. Um, when you are saving, when you do have that margin, you're going to feel so much better about that than maybe whatever you were thinking about spending that on beforehand. So when you have those moments of margin, and it might even feel like abundance, always be thinking about where you can save, where you can invest that into the future, where you can put that money into the people that you love. And I think that when you're thinking about it like that, you're going to have some really successful results. And as we get here into number 3, this is kind of 2B, but it's really, I want to really put the exclamation point on this, right? When we do start early, when we can put a couple dollars away to be really excited about, we can stay flexible as life changes, because maybe something changes. Maybe the plan that you set out for right now for your child's birth is going to go exactly according to plan, and maybe something changes. But when you're not going to regret helping set your child up for education success when you do have that margin, right? And when you do have that time that you do need to be flexible, you can do that. And you can know that you've invested the time and the treasure into your child, into their college, into their future education. Starting small gives you room to adjust your savings over time without as much pressure. If life throws you a curveball, maybe it's a job change, maybe it's unexpected expenses, maybe there's a health thing, there's the earlier you start, the less you might feel trapped by a massive circumstance change that's going to change your target to something that is just out of reach. Flexibility is a gift you give yourself to start early and build gradually. And speaking of gifts, point 4 is grace, man. It is so important in this process to give yourself grace. As a parent, there's all kinds of ways that we can maybe feel like we mess up, but being able to put dollars away, being intentional about that is so awesome and needs to be congratulated. Even thinking about saving for somebody other than yourself is something that's countercultural. And that's not something we hear about a lot today. So it's really important, man, just to first give yourself grace and know that it's really important what you're doing. Yeah. Doing what you can, when you can, with the resources that you have is success. I'm going to repeat that because that's really important. Doing what you can, when you can, with what you have is success. The important thing is having a plan. When you have that plan, you can adjust it as needed. But let's remember to stay committed to your family's future. So there's a few more thoughts as to why starting early is going to save you so much stress as it relates to saving for your kids' college. You want to start with those small steps, not just because it's going to emotionally feel good, but the math is on your favor in terms of compounding over time to have an amount that you're going to feel proud to be able to help support your child for college. But as much as that stability is going to be important, it's important to have flexibility. We're starting early to have margin, to have flexibility, because when something comes up, what we can do is then put pause and be able to handle other things and, be okay with that. Be more okay with that than not having anything. And then all of a sudden we look up and our kids are about ready to start college and we go, oh man, where did the time go? If it feels overwhelming, you're not alone. If you want help building that plan that's going to help your family's life stage and goals now and into the future, that's where I can come in. Would love to have you schedule a consultation so that we can chart the path that gives us peace of mind and opens those doors to your child's future. Thanks so much for listening, and hopefully you've enjoyed, and if you have, feel free to like and share on your social media. Thanks. This has been Connor Bourne with Bourne Financial Coaching. Connor is an independent investment advisor representative affiliated with Registered Investment Advisor Strategic Blueprint. Everything we discussed today on the financial front are principles that can be applied to certain circumstances that may or may not be yours. Therefore, please do not consider this individual advice because I do not know your personal circumstances. For such advice, please reach out at cbourne@bournefinancialcoaching.com.